Morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Breakfast with Dr. Kojo. It's been a while since I've done one of these early morning segments, but I'm happy to be back on bright and early, checking in live from sunny Los Angeles, California. It's not sunny yet, so it feels like a late night show because it's not sunny yet, but I would assume that the sun will come out today. So, we're checking in live from sunny LA, and we are talking about 3 ways that anxiety prevents you from living your best life. But before we get into it, shout out to Elsa. We got somebody from YouTube with the first comment. I love to see that. Before we get into it, you all let me know where you all are checking in from, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we got Missy from Philly. What's up, Missy? How you doing? Also, what's going on? The first comment from YouTube. ABC Bella, Big Tuna. We got a lot of YouTube love. I love that. That's awesome. Let me see where people are checking in from. Shelby, good morning. How are you doing? We have Michelle checking in from Winchester, Virginia. We got Jackie checking in from Lindsay, Ontario, Alabama, Canada, South Carolina, Saginaw. I think that's in Michigan, right? La Mesa, California. If you message me, like there's a 99% chance I did not get it. There's so many messages that come in. Like this is the best way to get me right here on live. Jacqueline, good morning. We have Dawn from Tucson, Arizona, Massachusetts, Ontario in the house. Okay, Kentucky. This is cool. We have people from all over the place. Colorado Springs, Kansas City, Missouri. I hope you're not a Chiefs fan. Cullen and Katie from Alabama. I love your channel, by the way. I love your channel. Awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 ways that anxiety prevents you from living your best life. And when I'm talking about anxiety, this is just, I'm using anxiety as a general term, right? We can be talking about, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, social anxiety, OCD. I'm talking about anxiety in general and how it prevents you from living your best life, right? And what I want to hopefully inspire you all to do this morning is that if you feel like anxiety is taking over and is preventing you from living your best life, or you feel like you can't really enjoy life, because of anxiety, that you reach out to your local healthcare provider and you decide to maybe book an appointment and take care of some stuff so that way you can live a higher quality of life, right? So without further ado, the first way that anxiety prevents you from living your best life. I got to type it here in the comment section. You are unable to enjoy the present right here. Unable to enjoy the present. I'll just pin the YouTube comment. Right. So anxiety, this is, so I don't have these in any order, right? But I feel like this is probably the worst part about anxiety, right? You're not able to enjoy the present, right? If you're anxious about something, let's take social anxiety, right? You have to go to some event, and you have social anxiety. The event might be in 2 weeks, right? Like we're in June now. Like is it what is June 9th, right? It's June 9th right now. You might be thinking about this barbecue you have to go to on July the 4th, where you have to be around all these people, and is June 9th now, and you're stuck thinking about, oh, I have to be in front of these people. This is going to be really tough, and I hope my phone doesn't die on me when I'm out there. I hope that I don't fumble over my words. I hope that people don't judge me. Today's June 9th. We're a whole month away from July the 4th, right? But social anxiety is preventing you from enjoying life right now. Same thing with panic disorder, right? You're sitting there thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, I'm not able to, enjoy life because I'm not sure when I'm going to have a panic attack again, and you're thinking about this over and over, and you're trying to preemptively brace yourself for the next panic attack, and you might not have one for a week or two, but within those 2 weeks, you're sitting there you cannot enjoy life, right? Because you're trying to brace yourself for this event that may or may not happen, right? Good morning, Leilani. How are you doing? Anxiety is fear. False evidence. Ooh, Courtney, I like that. Let me give Courtney the first love of the show. false evidence appears real. I like that. I like that. And somebody somebody had a comment I wanted to highlight. Oh, James. He said you can't stay and watch. I just wanted to say thanks. Your videos help me so much with ADHD and depression. James, I appreciate you and everybody else who checks in. We're building a little community, not little, but we're building a community out here, and I appreciate every single person. And my anxiety is packing for my flight. Morning, Cindy. How are you doing? How are you doing? And Casey, I'm happy you can finally watch this live. Right. So what I'm saying is, it prevents you from living your best life. Number one, because you cannot enjoy the present, and there's a beautiful thing about the present moment, right? And I would say we all may struggle with some capacity to enjoy the present, right? For me, sometimes it's hard to slow down, like enjoy life, and I'm always thinking like, oh, I have to work, I have to do this, or I have to do that, right? But then you'll get to like maybe the summer will be over, and you look back and say, oh wow, it was nice being able to do this. It was nice being able to go here. It was nice being able to spend time with family, right? We don't want to neglect the present, but sometimes anxiety and the present are like vying for like your time and attention, right? Like if you exist in the present moment, anxiety cannot exist, right? So if you're living in the present and you're whether it's through mindfulness, meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, breathing exercises, if you bring yourself to the present, like there's no way anxiety can exist. That's the good news, right? The bad news is how do we stay in the present, like consistently without like kind of veering off, right? you know. And Rachel says, my anxiety is crippling since I got in a rollover accident. Rachel, I'm so sorry to hear this. And I do want to make this point, right? So anxiety, right? Just take anxiety as a term. It, if you're anxious, right? How do I say it? Anxiety as a thing, right? As just as a concept, it helps you live longer, right? Like if you're not anxious, like you have to be a little anxious, right, to live longer, right? Because that way, before we cross the street, we're gonna look. If you're driving, you gotta make a left turn. You're gonna look left and right, and the left and right, and then one more time, look left just to make sure, and then you check right, and then you bust that left, right, because you're just making sure that nothing will happen, right? So with anxiety, you will live, like it helps to keep us alive, right? But when it gets to the point where it's crippling, it's tough to have any quality of life, right? So we do the best that we can every single day, and we try and get better, 2% better every single day. So that way, like if you wake up today, right? If you've been anxious since the past 2 years, right? You're not gonna wake up on this Ram Thursday and then all of a sudden you don't have anxiety, right? But you might be a little bit better, right? Whether it's through watching this live stream or maybe you're getting tips from somewhere else, right? We hope that you'd be like a little bit better, right? And then the second way that anxiety prevents you from living your best life, I always put these on my phone. Maybe I should put them on my iPad or probably on my computer so I can just like copy and paste. But it makes it harder. Makes it harder for you to relax. The second point, it makes it harder for you to relax, right? All right. And let me see. Jay says, same here. I find myself staying in the house more and more. Yeah, anxiety it'll keep you in the house because sometimes you feel like you're safer at home, right? You feel like you can't be touched at home, and that's not entirely true. But you probably are safer home than other places, right? But you can't connect with people. You can't live your life. You can't go to work. You can't do things if you're at the house unless you work from home, right? But that's defeating my point. But the second thing I want to talk about, anxiety makes it harder for you to relax, right? So if you're always on edge and you're constantly worrying about something, you're not relaxing, right? And it's interesting because I tell people all the time, like people ask me, for example, a very popular question I get out here is how you stay motivated. Like you're not supposed to be motivated 24/7. Like motivation comes and goes, but in terms of motivation, you're like the body is not. You're not a machine. People don't realize that, right? You're not meant to wake up and grind, right? Like what's the phrase? I'll sleep when I die. Like, no, like if you don't get sleep, you will die faster, right? I hate to be so blunt. I know a lot of the the old school doctors, right? You go to them and they'll just tell you, oh, if you do this, you're gonna die. People are like, oh, like I like to be optimistic, but if you don't sleep, there's a good chance that you probably are shortening your life, right? But like we gotta get sleep. We have to relax. You're not supposed to be on 24/7, right? You need time to relax and unwind. That's just a part of life, right? If you're anxious, sometimes we talk about this concept of high functioning anxiety, right? Sometimes when you're not doing anything, you feel like you just feel like shit. I don't know how else to say it, right? You just feel like you're the worst person in the world, right? Because sometimes we tie our self-esteem to our productivity, right? So if we're productive, if you wake up today and you have 11 things to do and you do 8 of them, you're gonna go to bed today feeling like a rock star, like, oh yeah, I did everything I had to do, right? But if you had 11 things to do and you did like one, you're gonna feel horrible, like, dang, like I'm not a good person, I'm not productive. you know if you're not productive, that means nothing. It tells me nothing about who you are as a person. Maybe you needed a break. Maybe you needed a break, right? And this is not like me talking to you all like in a condescending way. This is my life, right? Like making these videos and being on social media. I feel like sometimes I have to knock out every single thing, but luckily I have a good team around me, and my assistants always saying, "Oh, Kojo, like if you're out of the house and you're on vacation, take a break. Like let's relax. Like you don't have to be like always. It's probably my anxiety kicking in, but you don't always have to be like like on top of things. So like I'm learning too. Like I'm learning. This is not something that you become a genius at because you went to school, and you got a couple of degrees. Like I have to go through my process just like every single person, right? So the second thing, anxiety prevents you from really living your best life because it makes it harder for you to relax. And we have to relax, right? It's important. Let me get to some more of these comments. My self-esteem is really tied to my productivity. So Nicole, this could be like a lot of us, right? Like, even for me, like some days when I'm not like making content, or I make so much content that like sometimes I feel like my team wants me to be like, hey, Coder, chill out. So I can make content and then like I could really just kick back, right? I really could. But like I'll still come on here, I'll snoop, I'll be like, what's going on? Or, because I have to sometimes work really hard to feel good with myself, right? So now I've started that process of changing it up. So when I don't get anything done, I'm like, okay, today was meant for me to relax, right? Or what was my priority task? What were the priority things I had to do today? Did I get them done, right? If I got at least 1 or 2 of them done, then I'm good. And that was the DoorDash guy coming in to well, not coming in, but just dropping food on the doorstep. Sarah Stocks, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. Breen says I have love for this way. Jacqueline says I appreciate you so much, encouraging everyone I know to follow and listen. Jacqueline, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Beautiful family, by the way. I like that picture you got. Leilani says rest is essential to our mental health. My husband got me an Apple Watch for my birthday, and it's helped me set goals for sleep. Yeah, like that's why I wear this thing as well. Like I use an app called Auto Sleep. I'm not sure if y'all can. Let's see if I can show y'all this thing right here. Auto Sleep. Y'all see it? Well, either way, yeah, it says auto sleep. Like that's the main reason why I have this watch. The brand new one. I said let me get a brand new one, put it on my wrist, right, and track my sleep every night. So I have this. It's connected to the phone, and then it'll say if I like the sleep that if I got my 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Like I want to track that because I need to make sure that I relax. Like we're not meant to like we're not robots, right? We're not robots, And Joel, I've had a couple of lives about weed, and we can definitely do some more a little bit later on. But in my opinion, I think that it affects people differently. I do believe that it can make people anxious and paranoid. But then I have patients who swear by, marijuana, and they say it helps them out better than, what I would prescribe them. And I believe them because they use that over what I prescribe them. So I do believe there's some therapeutic to it, but I would not be surprised that weed, of course, there's different strains. I would not be surprised if like weed can make you, anxious, right? Um, Casey, I appreciate you. And look, it's tough finding somebody in your area, but just taking that step and Googling therapists near me or somebody like that, can help to make a big difference. Robert Rice, I appreciate you, my guy. I appreciate you, Rob. I appreciate you. Julie, we are all in this together. It's funny because I look at this kind of like how this is kind of like driving, right? Like you can be the best driver in the world, no accidents, right? But if somebody is driving and they come and they hit you, or like we depend on that, like each other, like whether we're on the road or whether we're like at home, like sometimes we don't like to admit that, but we do depend on each other more than we'd like to, admit. My mind is my biggest enemy. It never really lets me enjoy my happiness. It constantly brings up my past mistakes. Right. So I don't know if that's regret, but just that regret and that negative mindset, sometimes that right there could prevent you from living your best life, right? But you know that, right? So you can't be too hard on yourself, right? Um, all right. And just watching this live makes me feel better. Aubrey, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I see some haters in the or some hate in the comment section. Let's not acknowledge it. Let's just keep the program moving, right? Let's keep the program moving. They only have to check this morning too because you weren't. Yeah, I wasn't on last night, so I made an announcement and I said that my schedule is flipped. So no late night shows for the rest of the week, but we'll do the breakfast with Dr. Kojo, and then we'll do it again tomorrow, right? And then we'll come back around on Monday morning on ABC7 on live TV, and we'll be talking about ADHD and how to recognize the signs and symptoms of ADHD. That'll be on live TV, right? But if y'all missed that, like I will post a segment on here. So literally, you just have to follow this page. But if you watch it on live TV, I think it's cool, right? All right. And the third way that anxiety prevents you from living your best life, I'm gonna drop it in here. All right. And I said it could lead to depression, right? Keyword is could. Let me put this could right here, right there. All right. So it could lead to depression. And 1 second. I forgot that I could block users on StreamYard. So I'm sorry. I should have just blocked them and kept the show moving. But anyway, so anxiety could lead to depression, right? Keywords could. It doesn't automatically always lead to depression, but it could, right? So there's certain mental health conditions that are closely like tied to depression, right? We talk a lot about ADHD, right? And how with ADHD there's like I've seen studies that show that with ADHD you're more likely to be depressed, right? And anxiety is similar, right? Like that whole anxious experience can be very depressing, right? Like if you're realizing that like you're losing the present, right? And your best years and your best moments are flying by because you're not able to go out and do things. That's a very isolating experience, right? If you're having a hard time getting out of the house, right? Because you're afraid of what's going to happen and you're not sure, like you're just kind of on edge. That's a very isolating feeling, right? And even worse is when you can't talk to people about it, right? You're trying to talk to your friends about it, and we're just now starting to talk about mental health, right? So people are kind of like, we're figuring it out as a society. So we're just now, comfortable telling our friends, hey, like, I got a little bit of anxiety, so this is why I do this is why I do that, right? But if you can't talk to anybody, that's an even more isolating experience. You feel like you're all by yourself, right? And then you're not reaching out to people. And what do we know about isolation and loneliness, right? Like it could be as like detrimental to your health as heart disease. Like it's that bad, like we're not meant to be like by ourselves, right? Solitude is one thing where I know like I'm chilling at the crib by myself or whatever. I got my dog, and then I'm just kind of like watching TV or playing Madden. Like solitude's okay, but like constant loneliness is not good, but sometimes if you're extremely anxious, right? Like it's gonna make it very hard for you to be around people. It's gonna make it hard for you to get out of your comfort zone, and there's really, I don't say there's no growth, right? Because you could still pull things off from home, right? I don't want to speak in absolutes, but it's gonna be harder for you to get to take that next step, if you're in your comfort zone and if you're like at home all the time, right? But you have to keep in mind that your brain is telling you, all right, we need to stay at home because we want to live, right? Like that's how some people really see it. Like, hey, if I go outside, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I need to stay in the crib because if I stay at home, like I'm safe here, right? And like I said earlier in the live, you might be safe at home, but at the same time, like that growth, you're not going to have that. We're not going to have that. And let me read some of these comments. Because of your videos, I talked to my doctor about ADHD instead of just assuming it was anxiety, and I started my treatment in the morning. Hey, let's go ahead and give Lisa a love of the show. You all congratulate Lisa in the comments. Congratulations. And look, Lisa, I appreciate you doing that because, like, of course, like I've been in school and, like I've seen patients for a long period of time, but like in this content creator role, there's only so much that I can do, right? I can put out the information, I can make it funny, relatable, educational, and I can just put it out there. But then it's up to you all to go out there, really find somebody in your area. Because from my computer screen, right? I'm like, I just woke up like this. Like I can't tell you if it's anxiety or ADHD because like I haven't sat down and talked to you for like an hour. I haven't like gone through my whole checklist, right? Because like we're not in that professional setting. So you went out and you did what you had to do for yourself, and now your life is about to change for the better. So this is super exciting. This is super. I've always thought to myself that like receiving the proper help for ADHD is life changing, right? So this is super. This is super cool. Let me see. You're absolutely amazing with some of ADHD, OCD, anxiety, depression. I've been able to be more self-aware, motivation to do things that need to be done, and things I used to love. Lisa, I appreciate you once again. Shout out to Lisa as well. Shout out to Lisa as well. And like I have the shirt. I should wear that shirt today. Like I should have worn that shirt. But my shirt that says action defeats anxiety, right? So if you get up and you start to like move and you do things, right, it's gonna start to defeat the anxiety, right? Because anxiety wants to paralyze you. Like if anxiety is like I used to play what's that game? Super Mario growing up, and they had all these different bosses you have to defeat, right? You would get to one level, you would defeat that boss and defeat that boss and defeat the next boss, right? If anxiety is like one of the big bosses, right? It wants to keep you in the house, it wants to keep you secluded, it wants to keep you paralyzed. And when I say paralyzed, I don't mean physically. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like you can't do anything, right? Like whether it's a lack of motivation or analysis paralysis, like you can't do nothing at all, right? If you're in that state, anxiety is happy. It's like, okay, I got you, right? So if you get up and you start to do things, then anxiety is like you're going to start to defeat that anxiety because you're doing an actionable thing, right? And sometimes for a lot of people who are like, if you consider yourself to be like a perfectionist and you're like, oh, everything has to be perfect before I start, right? Sometimes that's anxiety, right? And you may or may not know it, but you're like, I want to like make sure that I'm super sure, or I'm super ready, or you're never ready for it. Like there's no, I mean, like something like being married, right? You have to be mentally prepared to be married. I get that, but a lot of things that we do, there's no like, I mean, even like having kids, like sometimes like there's no kind of like right time, like things happen and like you there's no like one event that happens and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm ready to be a father, I'm ready to be a mother. Like life happens and you take things as they come, right? But sometimes when people try and be too perfect, it's really another way of their anxiety manifesting, but they don't know what's going on, right? Lisa says, I lean on the Holy Spirit for comfort my husband and as near my anxiety meds. Hey, Lisa, nothing wrong with that. I'm with it. I'm with it. I love it. Jay says, I'm always on edge. My loved ones don't really understand. Maybe just pray about it. Okay, but it takes more than just praying about it. All right, so Jay, I'm actually happy that you mentioned this because, you know, like look, it's tough to explain anxiety to somebody who has no concept of it, right? And if your people are, they're hardcore Christian. Look, I'm a Christian, right? And I'm not a perfect Christian. I'm still a Mickey 50, right? But I'm a Christian. I do my best to show love to people and try and get 2% better every day. But if you're trying to explain anxiety to somebody and they don't understand it, sometimes you have to take a step back and bring it on in and like figure out what you have to do for yourself. And then it's almost like you have to take care of yourself first, and then on the back end go back and say, all right, like, how can I help my family understand this, or how can I help other people with the same issue, right? But like if you're already anxious, right, and you're trying to live with it, and family's like, oh, just pray about it, right? It's gonna take up energy for you to explain to them, right? Like all this is energy. Is this sucking the energy out of you? And you're already kind of running low on energy because you're anxious. You can't really do much at this time, right? So that's why we need to have the conversation about mental health, anxiety. So sometimes Lisa right here said, and as needed, my anxiety medications. Sometimes it's gonna take Klonopin, Vistaril, Buspar, Celexa. Sometimes people need medications for anxiety, right? And if that's what is needed, and you start to do better on those, then hey, that's why you have professionals that we can go to, who will help you out and sometimes give medications as needed, because like people aren't taking these medications for fun, right? Nobody wakes up and they're like, oh, I just want to, take these pills because like it makes me look cooler, right? No. And you have to remember to take them every day, right? I mean, like depending on what it is, right? If it's like a antidepressant for anxiety, you don't really take that every day, right? Or something like Buspar, you take like multiple times a day normally, right? So nobody wakes up and like I'm having fun like doing this, right? If you make it fun, like more power to you, right? But people have to do stuff like that to help them live, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? So that's the main thing I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. There's nothing wrong with that. Like if you have to, cool. If not, cool. It is what it is, right? It's a good question right here. And so like I already said my 3 points. Let me do like a little bit of Q&A for like 5 minutes or so. What can you do to help 8-year-old with anxiety? How can you explain to them what anxiety is? All right, okay, cool. So this is a good question for me, Stephanie. So an 8-year-old is what, third grade, fourth grade, third grade? I think third grade, right? But when I make videos, I try and make it to where like a third grader can understand, right? I don't like using like big words, right? So Stephanie, if let's say you're talking to your daughter, I'd probably say, hey, like if they have anxiety, you say, hey, like you have this condition that it makes it hard for you to sometimes operate in the present, right? And because of that, like you sometimes live in the future and you try and solve problems before they can actually happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our best to bring you to the present moment, right? Whether it's through mindfulness or breathing exercises or meditation or whatever the case may be. I think if you can at least normalize it for Leilani saying a third grader, right? If you can normalize it for a third grader, like you're doing a good job, right? Because like you want to put a name to something, right? Like if a third grader is having that feeling and they don't know what's going on, they're gonna be like, WTF, like they're like, I mean, you might not say that, but they're gonna be confused, right? So if you can normalize it, then it won't be as isolating of an experience, right? And then like as they learn more, they're like, oh, anxiety is like the most common mental health condition. So I'm not the only one who struggles, right? So that would be a goal. That's what I would say. Let me see. Someone says, I'm nursing right now, so I can't take meds. Respect, that's why you got therapy. Like I said, breathing exercises, grounding. Sometimes people will like keep some sour candy on them, like if they're having like a panic attack to just distract them. There's so many different things that you can do outside of meds, right? Not that any one of those was the answer for you, Kendra, but just to kind of let you know that, like outside of meds, like we can still like, do something, right? Helen says, from a religious person, yes, we can pray, but the Lord made doctors and chemists to create meds. I agree. And this is tough. Like I said, I come from a very religious background, and I never like I never ever heard this type of conversation being had as a kid, right? It was always like, we're just gonna pray and God's gonna take care of it, and I'm like, God's gonna take care of it. And I wake up the next day, and then whatever was, still bothering me, and I'm like, God's gonna take care of it, and I still believe in God, right? For me personally, this is not a religious, talk, but regardless of whatever you believe in, there's still evidence-based information, right? And preventing yourself from getting that could be a difference between the quality of your life being at an 8, 9, 10, or like a 4, 5, 6, right? So that's what I'm saying. Chris says, thanks you so much for these talks. I was just diagnosed with ADHD. I already have bipolar disorder. Chris, thank you for your attention. I appreciate that. Hopefully this stuff is helpful. Diana, I cannot, I can't professionally recommend anything on here, right? Like, I have to know what my boundaries are. I can't recommend anything, but Lexapro is a SSRI, is an antidepressant. The evidence says that that's something that you would prescribe somebody with anxiety or depression, right? So, like when I'm teaching the students back at Augusta University, if we were like multiple choice question, and it was like Lexapro is one of the answers, we could pick that because that's something that we would sometimes give people for anxiety and or depression, right? But I can't come out here and like personally recommend that to you, because I gotta know my my limits, my boundaries. Woke up this morning, see ADHD could come from taking Tylenol while pregnant. Robin, let me go back and do some research about that. I don't know ADHD from Tylenol. I personally don't know. I don't know. How about this? I've not heard about this. Let me go back and do some research and talk to my OGs and figure out. But I have not heard this. Honestly, I wouldn't know. How do you handle anger with ADHD? The same way you would handle anger in general, right? Like, well, if ADHD is the underlying thing, proper medication could help, prevent outbursts. Sometimes people may need additional medication or even counseling or therapy or coaching, but allowing yourself to have like healthy ways to like channel emotions could prevent you from getting to that point where it's like an anger outburst, right? Like if you're bottling things up constantly, and ADHD, I could see how somebody could do that easily, right? Like you're getting overwhelmed, you're getting frustrated, you're just bottling things up without like a healthy outlet. Like at some point you're gonna like explode, right? So if you can find like a healthy way to like express yourself, it could help out. All right, and let me answer one more question. Somebody dropped the magic word in the chat. Well, let me get one more question here. What's the difference between SSRIs and other depression medications? A friend mentions them and it confused me. All right, so I guess theoretically, like let's say somebody's depressed, right? And you give them like a standard SSRI like Zoloft, right? If that doesn't work, then we try like some of the other ones in that class, like Lexapro, Celexa, Paxil. If those don't work, then the thinking is, oh, we're gonna go to like a different type of antidepressant, right? So SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So if those don't work, we'll go to the SNRI, and norepinephrine. The N in SNRI is norepinephrine. I'm like, I hope I'm not forgetting I'm forgetting everything because I'm dancing on TikTok, right? So whereas the SSRIs help to like increase serotonin, with the SNRIs, right, you have like norepinephrine being increased as well. That could help even with executive functioning, and it can help with pain, depending on what the medication is. And if that doesn't work, we have uh, other types of medications. You have like tricyclics, you have what else can we do? We can use some antipsychotics, as adjunct. So sometimes people like add things like Abilify to help out. Then you have ECT, which is helps with depression, electroconvulsive therapy, and it works actually like faster than like one of these medications. So it does get kind of complicated, but like an SSRI is like what you would like start off with. Like hell, and that's like the basics. Like it's kind of like the OGs, right? Matthew, I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much. Cheers. Cheers. Your reveals. Matthew, I appreciate you. And real quick, let me read this as an anecdotal report from opposite perspective. I didn't take Tylenol at all while pregnant, and both my kids. One diagnosed and one suspected. Yeah. So I would assume this is Katie talking. Katie, I need to go look at that report. Because like I don't know like where it came from. Like I just need to read it, and I need to see if it's evidence based, if it's like is a randomized controlled trial, or I need to call one of my OGs and ask them and see what's going on. All right, y'all. Top of the magic word. Cheers. So go ahead and get your water. It'd be good to start your day off with some water, right? But whatever beverage you have, whether it's coffee or I said that like I'm from Boston, but yeah, whatever you're sipping on this morning, I'm sipping on some water. Let's go ahead and get this water break in. Cheers. Those of us with ADHD, sometimes we forget to drink water and we forget to eat as well, right? So that's why even if you didn't like learn or have fun on this live, like hopefully you got some water in, right? And Rachel says, don't forget to take your meds as well. You know what? Like, I never thought about that. All right, so tomorrow we had the morning show once again, and that would be a good time for everybody to take your morning medications. It just makes sense, right? So that way you don't forget. Because if you forget to take your meds, they don't work. Like I don't care what you've been diagnosed with or whatever. If you don't take it, it won't work, right? So you don't want to forget it. And you remind me of what Chadwick Boseman. I used to get that a lot. Black Panther, right? A rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. This has been our first live, and it's interesting. Ukiah, we have fun out here. Like I want to do things. Like I think it was Frank Sinatra said that. Like I want to do things my way. Like this is how I have fun and talk about mental health. Like I can't just put on a suit and say, all right, guys, so we're gonna talk about. Nah, I mean, it doesn't work for me. So we gotta have fun. Shelby, what's going on? How you doing? How do you rewire your brain to? How do you rewire your brain from childhood to resolve the symptoms? Are you talking about anxiety? Shelby, can you elaborate just a little bit more? Elaborate a little bit more. Your voice is well. Look, that's exactly how it is. Like I was never a morning person, Leilani, but like I had to learn, because like even back on the East Coast, when I was doing forensic psychiatry, I was like, I had to wake up and like I had to be like present, so I had to wake up and go to the gym, and then I would talk to folks at the gym, and eventually my voice would wake up. But like when I would first hop in the gym, I'd be like, and then by the time I'm leaving the gym, hey guys, by the time I get to the hospital, hey, what's going on? Let's see. So anxiety, negative self-talk, and fear. How do you rewire your? All right. So here's the thing. All All right, so let's start with anxiety for a second. You could be anxious because of your childhood. No, I could definitely see that, right? Depending on what's happened to you and what's been told to you, you could be anxious because of your childhood. At the same time, negative self talk could be there. Fear and anxiety are like they're like kissing cousins, right? They're like you kind of don't have one without the other in a sense, and trying to rewire your brain, like you have the whole concept of reparenting, like where you have to reparent yourself. That's what you have to do. Like literally, like Shelby, the same way you would tell your kids or you would teach them about kindness or opening up the door for people, or like if you have a son, you tell your son to be a gentleman, be nice to women, like all that stuff. You have to do the same thing for yourself, so you have to approach anxiety as like you have to recognize anxiety as like a formidable opponent. Like you can't just play it off like it's nothing. So by doing that, you're like, all right, okay, I recognize that I'm afraid to do this or I'm anxious. I'm gonna like slowly, and gradually, right? Like kind of like maybe it's like a little ghetto exposure therapy, right? Which is like when you go to a professional, that's a lot of what they would do to help you out. Like if you're afraid of dogs, right? You know, they'll show you a picture of a dog, and eventually they kind of get you more comfortable with the concept of a dog, right? So same way with anxiety as a adult, right? Like you want to get yourself comfortable with approaching whatever you're afraid of, right? Anxiety and fear, and over time you become better with that. And also negative self-talk. Like if you were exposed to a lot of that as a kid, then it's gonna be like you'll be 30 years old and somebody will be like, oh, you're such a talented person, like you're a great writer, you're a great architect, you're a good engineer, or they'll compliment you on whatever, right? And you won't believe it. You're like, I'm not good at that. I'm not, like nothing, because sometimes that negative mentality, it really sticks with you, right? It's hard to redo like what happened to you like as a child or the experience that you had. So by reparenting yourself as an adult, you have to hang out with certain people who make you feel a certain way, right? Like anybody who comes into my space, positive affirmations is huge. It's super huge. Like anybody who comes into my space and they're negative, I can tell right away. Like I'm not gonna like out them. I'm not gonna like embarrass somebody or whatever. But like I'm just not gonna hang out with you, straight up. And if the person keeps asking, why aren't you like hang out? I just like you do X, Y, and Z. Like I like to stay away from that. But I don't have an issue with you personally. But I have to like for my sanity, for my mental health, right? For me to come out here and do this, like I can't expose myself to like negative energy. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Like once I feel it, I'm gone. Like I run away from it. Like I run away from it fast. Like and I'm fast. I think I can outrun everybody on this chat. But I don't know. There might be some third graders on here who are kind of fast. But any type of negative energy in your space has got to go, right? And this becomes difficult when the negativity is coming from like a loved one or somebody who they're not going to go away so fast, right? Like a child, a spouse, a sibling, a coworker. So when it's like that, you have to step up and communicate, and then like try and like put some space between you and that person. You don't have to leave them. Like the answer is not to like just quit your job, no, but like you put some space between you and that person, and you communicate and let them know, hey, like you keep saying things like this, and that's not acceptable, And over time, you work on it. Oh yeah, I don't know what that Robert guy is. I gotta race him. And look, he might beat me. He might beat me, but as long as I try, then I'm good. Let me answer one more question before I gotta dip out. All right. Well, the negativity and judgment of your mental illness is coming from your spouse. So, like I was alluding to that earlier, Ryan, because a lot of times when people ask about questions like this, it's coming from somebody that they care about. This is very, very difficult because and I'm empathetic towards somebody who's going through this, because like you can't just cut off your spouse. I mean, yes, you can divorce them, but I'm not a fan of one person does one thing wrong, I'm divorcing them or I'm breaking up. Like no, let's now if you want to leave, like yeah, that's your prerogative. Like go ahead, but let's like at least like sit there and like think and figure out, how can we really work this out? Like do I have to like jump at every single thing that I don't like? No, but you have to set that hard boundary, and a lot of times when the negativity is coming from them, your spouse doesn't understand that, like that's a deal breaker, right? Especially if you've been with them for like a long time, right? And and like y'all just live your life and it is good and it is what it is, right? But if they don't understand that, hey, I'm saying like I'm giving backhanded compliments or what I'm doing is a deal breaker, like you have to really drill that point home in the most respectful way that, hey, like if this thing continues to happen, you're gonna like wear down on our relationship, and before you know it, we're not gonna have a relationship. You know, we're not. But this is like this is a very good question. Like it's worth my time to really sit here and like hopefully you all really get this point. Because like if the person closest to you is the one that's being negative, that's not uh, a strategy for long term success, right? Like something's gonna give. Like either you or that person is gonna want out, right? So educating them about what's like important to you is very very that's like a top one priority, right? And we would hope that over time they would start to respect, your boundaries, right? But I mean, if that's your spouse, you live with them, like you have to, like we have to make some progress towards this, right? You don't have to solve it out today, but make a little bit of progress towards it. And yeah, Kendra. So no more late night lives for the week. We're gonna do the morning shows. Yeah. So I'm happy you mentioned that. Facebook user, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And Shelby, 1 second. Your spouse needs to be educated. I agree. Your spouse does need to be educated. And Shelby, 1 second. Somebody talk about the running. That's why I wanted to race me. I got my Nikes right there. I'm ready. My anxiety stems from an atmosphere of criticism surrounding discipline, my family, public shaming, fear-based tactics. So I'm sensitive to criticism. All right. So once you know this, then like you pattern yourself, and if you're sensitive to criticism, there's nothing wrong with that. Like right now at this moment, but now like you have to build yourself up to where you know people's words or the things that people say doesn't affect you as much, right? Words matter and words do hurt, right? But as you work on it, it won't like affect you as much, right? Like somebody came on here earlier and was saying some BS, and I was catching in the comments, and then I forgot that I could block the person. I should just block them instead of even saying something. Like I wouldn't waste my breath on that person, right? But when I see like criticism or like somebody trying to like, I guess because anybody like millions of folks can watch this live, public shaming, like for me, like I block them. Like it's more so of a nuisance. Like it's like you're pissing me off. Like I'm trying to educate folks and you're out here, like it's just kind of like why are you doing this? Like I want that person to be around, but why are you coming with this negative energy, right? No, but at the same time, that same type of energy towards you, you can take it personally and feel like, oh no, I am like a bad person. Like I don't deserve to be like, you know, to be loved. So like a lot of that is deep rooted sometimes, and you really have to flip it by going in a different direction, right? So if you live your whole life this way, you just kind of start to go that way. You don't have to go fast, right? But any bit of progress is going to get you towards a place where you're more comfortable in yourself, right? Because you can't control other people, right? All you can do is just control yourself, right? And that's the best that you can do. And Rachel, negativity is a bummer. Like it's so important to be like. Somebody asked me on like a comment, why are you so positive all the time? I'm like, what are my options? Like you want me to be out here like upset? Like every day is not the best day, but like I'm gonna smile. I'm gonna live my life. I don't know how much, who knows how long we have on this planet. Like with the time and the breath that God's given me, I'm gonna live life and I'm gonna have fun, to the best of my ability. I'm gonna do what I can, and negative vibes, put it to the side, right? I want only positive vibes, and my good buddy Roberto. We work out in the mornings, and it's funny because we were talking last quick story before I get out of here. We were talking about the girls at the gym, right? So we go to the gym and like you see like all these like beautiful women at the gym, right? And then we did have all these conversations, and he's like, "What makes one like chick better than another? Like kind of like what you look for in a chick?" And I was like, "So honestly, all these chicks out here have like these like pants or whatever, or like the legging. I mean, like like there's beautiful women everywhere at the gym, like but the thing that separates them from each other is like who's nice. Literally, I said if she's a nice person, she's already like in the top tier just by being a nice person. Literally, just by being nice. Like asking, "How was your day?" "Oh, oh, wow, okay." Somebody asked about my day. "Okay, my day's been okay. I've been doing this." Those things matter. Like kindness will take you further than like 99% of things. Just being a kind person, right? And of course, like you have to be attracted to somebody. Yeah, I get that. We're not talking about that. I'm just talking about somebody who is kind. Like if you're a kind person, that doesn't normally switch up over time. Like kind people normally remain kind. If you catch a kind person on a day that they haven't had sleep, they might be an asshole for 20 seconds, but they're still a kind person, right? So having somebody who is kind in your corner, like you feel like you can fly, you feel like you can do every single thing in the world, right? So kindness is such a like it's not like a hashtag. Like when I put be kind, I don't want it to turn to like a little hashtag, right? Like we had these little hashtags and these little movements. No, like I'm for real when I say be kind. Like I'm for real. Like I'm not joking. Like that's a serious thing, right? Like be kind, right? Melanie saying she's sensitive to criticism and negativity, right? Like you never know what somebody's going through, right? Like just be kind, smile at folks, right? Like the moment I got my 'cause I never used to have like straight teeth as a kid, right? So once I got Invisalign and I got my teeth fixed, I'm like, all right, I'm about to start smiling every single day now. I'm about to start smiling at the wall. I'm about to start smiling at the floor. I'm about to start smiling, because now I can smile, right? Because my teeth are fixed. So yeah, being kind takes you far. Charles says, big movement. Yeah, being kind will take you far. All right, y'all. I do have to dip. Let me go get my breakfast from downstairs, and then oh yeah, I gotta get back to my publicist. All right, so we'll be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow's show. Let me give y'all a look at the schedule. Tomorrow's show, we're gonna be talking about happiness, right? And what makes us happy, and then Monday when we come back around, we'll have a morning show on Monday, but first we will be on ABC 7 here in Los Angeles. We'll be talking about recognizing the signs and symptoms of ADHD. That'll be an important show, right? Because a lot of people, like I have, a couple of followers online, but some people still don't really know. People aren't on their phones. Some people aren't on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. So, hopefully, I think there's like 4 or 8 million people in LA. Either way, there's millions of folks in Los Angeles, and hopefully, when I go on TV, they'll be exposed to some good information, and obviously, I'll put the playback out here too. So, I gotta dip out, but I hope you all have a fantastic day. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Tomorrow's live is going to be at 6 a.m. California time, 9 o'clock on the East Coast. But y'all have the best day possible that you can have, and yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energized. I feel like we're going to have a super good day. I didn't forget trash day this week, so I'm feeling myself a little bit. All right, y'all take care, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.